Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the west coast of France, Josh Lander, joined by my guy, Nate Weitzer, on the east coast of the U.S. And vacation couldn't stop me from bringing you guys a two-game slate with my buddy Nate tonight in the NBA. Not our favorite games to watch, but there is some value to find in these couple of matchups here. Definitely make sure to like and subscribe to that page. We're always bringing you these games each and every weekday of this regular season, and our player props video, where we'll go ahead and scrounge out some props from the couple games we have on the slate tonight. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where we have our great written content for you guys all season long, and our odds finder tool, where you can go ahead and make sure that you are shopping those lines to the best of your ability across U.S. sportsbooks this season. Nate, let's go ahead and get into this two-game slate and then kick off the Warriors and the Magic in Orlando tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that game right now, we got Orlando +9 at home. We got the total at 226. Money line's +320 for Orlando. That does seem unlikely, but the spread's pretty big. And then the other game, Denver at OKC. Thunder right now getting 6.5 points. They're +210 on the money line, and that total shrunk a little bit to 228. And I think we don't trust either road team to cover here. This early in the season, I don't really trust any contender to be firing on all cylinders, especially what the Warriors have shown after winning a championship, that they are just not coming out with much energy at all. Draymond supposed to be the tone center on defense. Well, he has not been that, especially on the road. I mean, they have notable home road splits. Usually it was the offense taking a big step back on the road, but they're dead last in defensive rating in their last three games at 119. And they've lost all three games at Detroit, Charlotte, and Miami. Miami also going through their struggles. So, I mean, not like Orlando is necessarily better than those teams. They're 1-7 on the year, only covered twice, but both of those were their only two home games. So That's the key here. It's a really interesting X's and O's matchup that makes me think I probably would bet small if I'm going to bet it at all, until we see how the Warriors play against a team that's playing four bigs at a time right now.
Yeah.
But I do think Orlando is positioned to guard them well. I mean, Bol might be a big, but he is very quick, and if he's your nominal starting point guard, it's going to be tough to get the same type of actions you want, to be able to get the same type of looks over him who's like 7'3". And, then they have multiple bigs at the back line. Guarding, they've done a pretty good job guarding the rim thus far. I mean, with Golden State, it always comes down to opponents' three-point shooting, and they're top 10 in that. They've somehow won 4 straight home games against Golden State. I mean, either Steph or Clay was out for each of those games, but I see the schedule. I see Golden State in Orlando, and I'm like, that is not an easy win for them. They hate traveling down to Florida, like Golden State and Miami, not an easy cover at all. They just have not been good on the road against East Coast teams, especially when they're on these long road trips. And now you got the fourth game of it. So I'm on the home teams here, the feisty young home teams. If you tease them both up and you just need them both to stay within single digits, I think you should feel pretty confident about that on a 2-game slate here.
Yeah, and you get them both at home, and guess who has and you said it, they're 2-0 against the spread at home, 1-1 on the year straight up at home. But guess who has the 5th best offensive rating at home so far through 2 games at 116 of any of these home teams, right? The Orlando Magic, they actually drop their defensive rating a bit because I think they're selling out. I mean, no, whatever. It's been 2 games. One of them was versus Charlotte, who has absolutely no defense that they play at any point. And then, obviously the other game that they covered at home. I already forgot who it was. But either way, they're playing a lot more offense at home, which is nice. I don't think that there's much reason to believe in anything that – I'm sorry. I do think that there's a ton of reason to believe in what we've seen from the Dubs so far on their East Coast road trip in the last 3 games as valid. I don't think that there's any sort of weird anomalies here. They've lost these last 3 games that they've lost to Charlotte, Detroit, and Miami in really the same fashion. season that that they're losing when they lose this season, right? They're just allowing a ton of second chance points. They're allowing their opponent to get to the free throw line at the second highest rate. They're playing at a little bit of a slower pace. It's actually a little bit misleading that they're playing so fast on the season, because it's mostly at home where they play at 107 pace. By the time, when they're playing on the road, that they're actually bottom 10 in terms of how fast they're playing. And it's just been all bad. It sounds simplistic, but this team isn't the way that they're playing this season. The things that they're bad at are the things that they're always bad at. They turn the ball over. They're not great. They haven't been great at rebounding when they don't have either Looney or when they don't have both Looney, Draymond on the floor at the same time. Not a very good rebounding team. And then, but the thing is, they're not shooting, right? And so if they're going to continue to be the same team and expect them to win, then they have to shoot well. Poole in the last 3 games, his splits are 45% from the field, 32. Wiggins shooting 40% from the field. Steph is 45, 29 from 3 is Steph right now. And then Clay's been bad all season, 36% from the floor, 26% from 3. That's just these last 3 games on the road. All this stuff is sort of, similar to what was going on with them last season, where at home they were one of the best teams in NBA history before a bunch of players got hurt. And then, on the road, they were just mediocre at best, even when they had every single player in. It's like I said, these are all things that, we almost expect them to continue to turn the ball over. The defensive rating has been brutal, 7th worst in the league, and over the last 3, like we said, just the worst in the league, dead last, with the 2nd worst net rating. So if they're going to continue to turn the ball over, and Orlando, isn't a team that scores a ton of points off of turnovers, but like I said, they get everything down low, 5th in percentage points in the paint. The Dubs are not defending the paint. Nobody is for them. So I don't know, man. Like the Dubs are going to need to do a lot right now at 3-5. I do think there's some legitimacy to a championship hangover combined with a team that then went and played in Asia for like a couple of weeks right before the season. And then also a team that came back and had one of their best 4 players punch one of their other best 5 players in the league on their team in practice. And it went out and the video gets out. So there's a lot that they're reeling from. But I think the main point is the shooting needs to come through for them. And I don't see it just materializing on the road in Orlando, as it's never really a strong point for them when they do play these games. So.
Yeah, and the big thing is this is the front end of a back-to-back, and they're in New Orleans tomorrow. And that's a much bigger game in terms of getting hyped up for. So I think the mentality from the Dubs is like, let's try to scrape this one out any means necessary. They're obviously not thinking about a spread, which bettors might be. And Orlando's mentality is just like, we got the champs coming to our house. This is our one shot to get a home win against Golden State. They're going to be charged up and playing hard for 4 quarters. And Golden State in the 4th quarter, wow, this is unbelievable. They go from like 4th in scoring in every other quarter to 25th. And then they also give up the 3rd most points in the 4th quarter. So really struggling to close games thus far. Also giving up the most made free throws, 3rd most attempts and to opponents. And like you said, not being able to protect the paint. Look, Draymond can. I'm really interested to see if he matches up on Paolo and how that goes. But then the Magic just have plenty of other bigs to give them problems, right, on that end of the floor. And like I said, I mean, they have some lengthy bigs that can still move their feet and play good defense on the other end. I don't think it's necessarily an accident that they've been in these games with the Warriors. I think travel has a lot to do with it, but also and overlooking Orlando has a lot to do with it. But also some pretty good schematic things, and then just some young athletic bigs that are able to make the switches, notice the pet actions that the Warriors like to run and not just give up the easiest threes that is really necessary for the Warriors to win by double digits, as if that avalanche of threes just starts happening.
Yep, and that avalanche of threes also comes from other teams rushing their offense, and then the Dubs playing in transition, not necessarily getting fast breaks. They don't care about necessarily getting to the rim directly, having a 3-on-2. They're happy with like a 2-on-2 fast break where they kick it out to somebody for a 3 in transition. And even that stuff hasn't been here. They're just letting things in. Teams score, get second chance points, which is what they're also second or dead last in this season, is allowing teams to get second chance points. So if they're going to be giving up these offensive rebounds, it doesn't allow them to get in transition and get down the floor quickly, right? Which is a huge reason for the issues of their shooting, as their offensive sets also look really bad right now. So I'm with you, man. Like, it's interesting too, because it's not just them playing Orlando on these road trips is interesting because Orlando is usually at the tail end, if not the very last game that they play on these road trips, because they start northeast and they work their way down, right? And this one, they're finishing in the south again. They happen to have the Pellies tomorrow night, which is just even more reason to go, yeah, clearly you overlook Orlando in this situation because you really, really want to show out in a game where, you know, you've got Zion and the Pellies on television. I don't know. I actually don't know if it's national or not, but either way, there's going to be a ton of eyeballs on that game, right? So, so I think that this is a huge overlook game for them, trap game and everything. If you like Orlando on the money line right now, I'm not going to tell you to stay away from it. If you're going to bet on them in general, like I'm going to go ahead and take the 9 points and feel really good about it without even needing to tease or anything. But plus 320 on a money line in a game that should be close in the fourth quarter, where Nate just told you that the Dubs have been atrocious in the fourth quarter this year, which is just completely contrarian to what we've come to expect for them since Steph and team has been there. So we'll see on this one. Take the 9 for sure, though, and consider potentially an under. Although I will say, if the Dubs are going to win this game, they need to pick this pace up. There's no way. They know that if one of Jordan Poole and Steph or both are on the floor, like their defense is in trouble in the half court, in which case they just need to be running and gunning. So that's the only situation where if you do believe in the Dubs at all and you think that they're going to try to push the pace, you might consider an over in this one. But once again, it's just opposing forces, as the Magic are going to be trying to slow that down and keep things in the half court as much as possible. And I think that will be what prevails inevitably. So that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Definitely make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we're bringing you these videos each and every weekday. Also have our player props up for you today. So until we see you next, happy betting.